obligation for anti-corruption NGOs to submit e-declarations in Ukraine. One of the big debates over the summer and spring. I would give some introductory remarks about the context, and then talk a little bit about the specifics, the specific concerns from your perspective about the draft laws. So about the context first, because almost without saying that the obligation for anti-corruption NGOs to submit declarations similar to public officials is not in line with European standards, as only public officials that are in trusted positions to take authoritative decisions on behalf of the state should be subject to such an obligation. I believe that there can be no doubt about that. Of course, we know with satisfaction that there is now political willingness to remedy the situation in Ukraine, from presidential office. Unfortunately, the Rada, as we know, could not take action on it last week, the last session before the summer recess. That's regrettable on one hand, but on the other hand, time will also now allow civil society and the international community to comment on the laws. So the positive thing is that there will be hopefully room for further improvement of the package of bills, and that's something that also Poroshenko indicated during the Ukraine-EU summit last week. Two specific points about the process. Of course, from EU perspective, civil society, it's desirable that civil society is consulted in the process and is able to express their concerns about something that concerns themselves. From EU perspective, also, there's an interest in the view of civil society on whether the new reporting obligations would be manageable in light of their limited, some of them limited resources. So hopefully that's something that can be dwelled upon over the summer. I will prefer not to go into a deeper or more detailed discussion about the package of bills, but and the negative impact they may have on civil society in Ukraine. But nevertheless, I will outline some general concerns that the EU has sees in the current package of bills about the substance that maybe can be used for further discussion later. The main concern is referred to as about private entrepreneurs, namely the extra obligation for so-called private entrepreneurs or national persons who receive incomes from international donors. The current package of bills obliges natural persons that receive such income from international donors to submit information in a special annex to their tax declaration. And moreover, this tax declaration will be available to the public. And there seems to be a problem of inconsistency here, because it's important to note that legal entities, such as private companies in Ukraine, that also receive like a similar income, are not subject to the same obligation. So it seems that there are no objective reasons why national persons should be treated differently from such legal entities as private companies that do not have such obligation. As there should be inequality in principle. And related to that, we can say the deterring effect on private entrepreneurs. That international donors rely unnecessarily for projects in Ukraine. It's the view that it would simply make it more difficult introducing further reporting obligations to help Ukraine in its ambitious effort when private entrepreneurs are subject to additional burdens. So that would be the main concern. I'll mention two other related similar concerns, namely the first one being the threshold for when civil society organizations have to declare their incomes. It remains rather low, and especially when it concerns small NGOs, it might overburden these organizations. And the third concern of the doesn't relate to NGOs as such, but I will nevertheless mention it. Namely the criminal liability for NAPC. It's also in the package of bills in how its staff handles confidential information, which we think especially about e-declarations in this context, of course. However, there seems to be no reason why there would be a special clause in the package of bills that would cover specifically NAPC. Why should it be covered not by general legislation or generic legislation on data protection. Indeed, introducing having such a special clause might expose NBC staff to unnecessary investigation and interfering with the functioning of the agency. Yeah, so this was meant as an introductory remark, a new perspective on the draft of the bills, and for further discussion in the panel.